welcome back to the NYC Godcast, where we offer wacky wisdom weekly from God's Word. So today, lots of exciting things. As you see, hi friend. As you see, we're a little closer and a lot more friends today, and so that's new. But also today, we are kicking off the camp theme. This month is the Get Me to the Garden theme for the Godcast, and so we're gonna unpack that each week. So to start us off with this theme, how many gardeners do we have in the podcast today?
What's the opposite of a gardener?
Yeah. How many of you are plant killers? That's unanimous across the board. So this is this year's theme. Rachel's read some of the lessons. I don't know if anyone else has got a chance to read them or not. This year's theme is very unique.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like for camp, like the last 4 years, we've had very similar themes. Like they've been repackaged. Like I hate to use repackaged. Like it's not stale stuff. It's new, but like it's like the same like truth, but with a new branding. I don't know how to make that sound any better. Yeah, it's not. This year's not though. So if you've missed out, like this is the year to come back. This year really genuinely is something completely fresh and completely new. So much so that I was telling Rachel, I feel like some people are like, what? And you'll see throughout this month as we talk about it, like it's almost going to feel counterintuitive. Like it goes against everything we've been taught in church. And so it's going to be a very interesting theme. So get me to the garden. So the thought of this year is this. We were created by God's design for a life in paradise. Everything about our existence is tied to the very place that we forfeited in the fall. And so all that we know, all that we love, all that we experience has been impacted and comes into our lives post paradise. Everything's after Eden. And so just since you all didn't help me with the gardening question, to a follow-up question. I don't know if you've ever put thought into this. I'm guessing not. What part of the Garden of Eden do you feel like you missed out on the most?
You mean what? Because of the fall? What do we miss?
Like you were meant to be there and you didn't get to. So what do you feel like you missed out on the most from the garden?
A perfect body.
Perfect body? Amen. You certainly did.
Thank you, John. So yeah,
we all did. We all did.
And he just hit it out the park.
Oh.
I think that unhindered relationship with God, where they could just walk with Him.
That was the correct answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We already said Miguel got it right.
So. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just awkward now.
Any wrong answers? We'll take the wrong answer this way. So get me to the garden is the idea that God did not send his son so that we could live our best lives now. He didn't send his son to prosper us or to do our bidding in this life. God sent his son to seek and to save that which was lost. Something had to be lost, and that's why he came, right? And so we know that Jesus is the Redeemer. What's interesting is when you look into that word Redeemer, it literally means the bringer backer. That's what it means in the Greek, loosely. Redeemer is the bringer backer. Like it's the one who
makes sense.
It's
that
like
makes sense.
Re and deem. Literally in the Greek, re means go back and deemer means to grab. So it's the bringer backer. That is what it means to be. So Jesus is our Redeemer.
Like a football position.
And so literally that's why he was sent, was to bring us back to something. And we know the term redeemed so well, but it's like, what is he bringing us back to? Well, that's the concept of Get Me to the Garden, is that Jesus came to bring us back to pre-fall.
Right.
Bring us back to life the way it was intended in paradise. Now, obviously, it's not like you pray in an altar and then zap, you're in Eden somewhere, like undisclosed location. That's not like no Area 51 stuff going on here. But in a very real way, the teachings of Jesus and what he saves us to is the way life was supposed to be, as you said, in relation with God before the fall. And so he is our Redeemer. He's our taker-backer. And so to be a Christian is to be saved from the fall and to live with an Eden-like eternity in view. So I was, obviously I've been diving into this theme for some time now. I honestly, when we started this, I'm like, this really gripped my heart. I actually, since then, have been very overwhelmed with how much the Bible has to say about gardening. So I don't know if you guys have ever thought about this, but we know obviously the very first scene in the Bible starts off in a garden, right? We have the Garden of Eden first thing. Then we fast forward, and Israel, when they're first formed, it says that they dwelt in the land of Goshen, which literally is the green plush land. This was a garden place. They go into Egypt. It's hot and dry there. No good. But then they're saved for Canaan. And Canaan was this place that had plenteous produce. It's a farmer's market. It's a garden, right? It's a place that's green and overwhelmingly garden-y. We find that a lot of the characters in the Bible, people like Abraham and Noah, and so many of them, they were farmers. They were people who worked the land while they served the Lord. We know, obviously, as we fast forward, Jesus steps onto the scene. And do you know how often Jesus is teaching about things like plants and roots and seeds and produce and farmers and barns? And like it's like when you start looking at it, it's like all he talks about is gardening and gardening terminology. Then we know in the life of Jesus, obviously, the very last night before he goes to the cross, where is Jesus?
In a garden.
He's in a garden, praying in the Garden of Gethsemane. But then he's buried in a tomb. Do you know where the tomb was located? In a garden. And then we find that as he rises from the dead, Mary thinks he's a gardener. And then we fast forward to the very end of the Bible and the book of Revelations, and we find out that New Jerusalem is actually going to be a city, a garden city. And so it's like from Genesis literally to Revelations, climaxing in the gospel, it's all about this garden way of life. And it's fascinating. And that's a little bit of what we're going to talk about at camp. Thoughts? I don't mean to be fire hydrating. Okay. So this is my question then. Why? Why does the Bible talk so much about gardens? What's the point? Like God could have used any analogy. Could have used zoos. He could have used, I don't know, maybe there weren't zoos back in, but he could have used any analogy. And yet why does God seem to talk about gardens so much in the Bible? Any thoughts?
Planting seeds, the rebirth of everything, the renewal process. You know what I mean? In spring, a lot of plants that were thought to be dead come back to life. You know, trees go from these ugly, withering, standing up piles of sticks to like, you know what I mean? They bloom. And
I'm always going to call trees that from now on. That's a standing pile of sticks. That's all that thing with the branches. That's all that is a standing pile of sticks right there.
Yeah. So it's the whole renewal thing, which clearly we are renewed to Christ.
Yeah.
I'm about to go on a rant.
Go on the rant. Ran away.
So you know how sometimes we read the Bible and we get so consumed with like these thoughts that are not necessarily given to us in the scriptures. Like we go into our curiosities about angels. We go into our curiosities about when were they created? We just let our minds wander and we let these thoughts just kind of overwhelm us sometimes. But the scripture from Genesis to Revelation is really about the relationship between man and God and every single thing that God has given. Even the fact that he gives us a little bit of insight into the background, it should be a blessing to us. Like we should be grateful for that, but we want more instead of diving into the bigger picture that God is giving to us, which is the restoration of the relationship between man and God. And I think the reason why he gives us so much of these analogies, some of these metaphors, is to kind of remind us of what our original purpose was. It's not about letting our minds wander off into all these, you know, different things that we allow it. It's really to restore that relationship between man and God.
Yeah, absolutely.
He wins again.
I got you.
I'm so glad we added that extra chair and microphone.
She's like my hype man, like, get him, Miguel.
So kind of to both Kevin and Miguel's point, God in his very nature is a restorer. He's a life giver. That is his purpose, right? And we are a life taker. We are a death bringer. Like we are the opposite. And so one of the reasons that he gives us these tangible analogies of gardening and sowing and seeds and things like that, it's something we can relate to. It's something we can understand and comprehend. I mean, I don't know what grade, I look at you, you're the homeschool mom. I don't know what grade we learn about gardening. And he's not a homeschool mom, though. It's just awkward. I don't know what grade we start. Like I remember learning that in school. I remember doing the seed in the Ziploc bag. Yeah. Well, in my school they did. But like I remember growing a seed in a Ziploc bag and a wet paper towel, like learning about the seeds and the whole thing. So like they teach you that. And so it's something we can all relate to. We all understand. It's a natural part of life. But to understand that that's what to Miguel's point, that's what God came to do in you. That's what he came to produce in your life is life, like connectivity to him, a relationship with him. That's the point of it all. And I'm totally with Miguel. Like, I joined him on the soapbox. We get so distracted by things that don't matter and never will matter, to be completely honest. All while missing the main point. Literally, it's like God rents a giant Megatron and puts on it. This is the point, and we're like, don't look, don't look, don't look. Look, angels. Like you have to intentionally ignore what is there to look at what's not there, and that is the Christianity that we just have surrounding us. And I rant with you; it drives me crazy. So that's kind of the theme. Get me to the garden in a very nutshell, in a very small nutshell. See what I did there? Nuts come from trees, in case you didn't know. And they have shells. Okay, so that's the theme. Get me to the garden. So today we're going to kind of unpack Monday's theme. And I'm really excited about Monday's theme. Monday's theme is the perfect place, paradise lived. And so Monday we're going to look at what was the Garden of Eden. Now, I've grown up in church my entire life. I've heard of the Garden of Eden literally my entire life. I have learned so much since diving into this of just what this place really was, what it entailed, what it was supposed to be and involve, and all of these things. And so I have really been taken back at what the Bible really says about the Garden of Eden. But the Garden of Eden, we look at it and we think it's this mysterious environment of perfection. And it was the image of how our life was supposed to be, but didn't end up being. But what we're going to look at camp is that God expected of us from Eden and what life was intended to look like. Like by God's design, we were created for Eden. And so everything about our existence is tied to that place that we've never yet experienced. And so we're going to talk about what God promised to give us while we were in Eden, the things that comes with that place and living there. And so the point of Monday's lesson is this: if everything in Eden is true, then we should be dissatisfied with this life. That is going to be Monday's theme. And that's why I say it's a little counterintuitive, because we sing gratitude like literally every Sunday here. I love that song. It's one of my favorite songs. But literally the Bible tells us we should actually be dissatisfied with this place, because the place that satisfies we missed out on, the garden living, right? And so if you're satisfied with this life, you're actually saying quite a lot about the place you really should have been satisfied with. You know what I mean? So we're supposed to be dissatisfied in this world, and we're supposed to be dissatisfied with sin and the things that are given to us in this life that we try to seek for satisfaction. And so one of the ways we're going to compare that to at a prayer station, it's like a fish that's out of water. We're created for one place, but we find ourselves in another place altogether. And technically we can survive here for a while, but we're not really thriving. We're not really enjoying it. We're not really finding satisfaction or contentment or fulfillment. Why? Because we were created for water. We're fishies.
Me and Miguel recently, I believe I was talking to you. We were talking about how, like, you know, like people, like a common secular term is like, I was built for this. You know what I mean? And it's like, when you look around, it's like, wait a minute. I was not built for this world. Like God did not, his original design for me was not to be in this world, but yet here I am, you know what I mean? And because I'm not built for this world, my only chance of survival is to look at who built me to get me through this world, to get me to where he created me to be.
Exactly.
Peter, in his first letter to those 5 regions, he was explaining to them that it is, as a Christian, it should feel natural to feel like a stranger in this land. Absolutely. And he was writing to them to encourage them, you know, that they're exiles, they're strangers, you know, they're don't really fit in with the norms and the values of those times. And he was explaining to them to encourage them, like, hey, it's natural for you guys to feel strange, or like a stranger in this land. You don't belong to this land. You belong. You're a citizen of a heavenly kingdom. Right. And so, to your point, right, as we see the things that are around us, they shouldn't paralyze us. Right. We shouldn't be paralyzed to incapacitate us to work for the kingdom, but we shouldn't also feel like we fit in or belong to this.
Which, it's like, society and even a lot of churches are like, they promote that like fit in kind of thing, you know what I mean? And it's like, but we're not supposed to fit in, you know what I mean? Because, like, for some reason, maybe I'm just slow on the take, but it seems to me recently society's become like an all-inclusive kind of club, you know what I mean? Yeah, we'll invite anybody who wants to come sit at our table can come sit at our table. Well, the Christian should be like, no, thank you. I don't want to sit at the table. Like it's almost like we can't wait to leave. You know what I mean? Like, why would I
Yeah.
unpack my suitcase here?
Yep.
I'm not staying for long.
Yep.
You know?
And so again, back to the fish analogy. Air is bad for fish. I don't know if you know that. Again, they teach that at school. After
Yeah,
the
I did learn
seed.
that.
After
I
the
did
seed.
learn
Okay,
that,
so
yeah.
you missed the Monday's lesson
Yeah.
of school because there's only one of those. But a fish that's satisfied with air that's actually bad for them, they're never going to look for water.
Yeah.
But they were created for water.
And they're
And
gonna
that's the
die
point. And that's
because they don't
exactly the
even
point
know
you
what
both
they
are
need.
making is that we're created for life with God, communion with God, a perfect place. But as long as we're satisfied with this world, we're never going to look for that place.
Mhm.
And this world's actually bad for us. It's actually toxic for us. It's actually dying. The world is dying around us and we're dying with it, right? Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. We're going back to the dust. And so this place is not good for us. And so when our hopes are set down here, it's actually a danger. And so this is kind of segue there. I was going to say segue, but I...
Good save. You said it anyway.
Yeah. So in what ways do you often see believers who are at home with this world, they're comfortable in this world, or they're in love with this world? And why is that a problem?
They try to prolong this world. You know what I mean? It's like people who are like, "Oh, the end is coming. We have to do something," and I'm like, "No, like this is exactly
Yeah.
what Jesus said is gonna happen."
Yeah.
So you need to be prepared for what's gonna happen next instead of trying to preserve what is happening right now.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm gonna let Rachel answer. I don't want to take her.
Oh, looky there.
I need someone to ramble more.
So you know how when I don't know if these things still relate, but I guess let me explain it this way. So when Israel was led into captivity because of their disobedience, right? God told them, "You guys are going to be there for 70 years," or was it 70 or 40? You know, with the amount of time, basically, he told them like, "Hey, you guys are going to be there regardless of what you do. So go ahead and build houses and
Right.
stuff like." And I think there's a fine line where we can be productive in this world without being
Yep.
in love with
Yep.
this world.
So you bring that up. So the patriarch, obviously Israel comes from Abraham. And I love this. I someday want to preach about this. But do you realize that Abraham's life left a trail of altars and tents? He was a man who did work down here. He's going to war. He's doing all, like, he's building altars. He's working for the Lord, but he remained in a tent. And the reason is he wasn't at home. He didn't put down permanent roots, but he still lived the life. You know what I mean? And and that's the same with Israel. They had to build roots, but when it's time to go, it was time to go, right? And so so many Christians, I don't know if you had more of that. I didn't mean to interject.
No.
So many Christians, we're putting down permanent roots here in this world when he's told us this is we're pilgrims, we're passing through, right? We're just travelers here. Our lives are to be temporary for the eternal. That was as much rambling as you're gonna get. That should be time's up. Time's up.
What was the question?
In what ways do you see Christians today who are in love with the world? They're in love with this place. They love the air as a fish meant for water. And why is that a problem?
Well, too, I think part of it is what you get out of church or what you're going to church for.
Yeah.
Because if you're not going, like, if you're going to church for yourself, then you're just not going to get what you need to get out of it. And so you are going to be a fish out of water. You are going to die. And that is a problem.
Rephrasing the question in an answer. We'll take it. We'll take it. So, and we already poked at this a little bit, but does it feel like wrong almost to say that we're supposed to feel dissatisfied in this life? Like, we're always told just be thankful for everything. And like the Bible does say, give thanks in all things. But to an extent, there is a fine line there. To your point, there's a fine line because if we are satisfied with the wrong things, we'll never look for the right things.
I think I've said this before, but comfortability, some way of phrasing that, is the enemy of the Christian.
Yeah.
Being comfortable, and we find ourselves being comfortable in our because like you said, we build roots, right? And we're not ready to move on to where God has us. It's almost like we want our best lives now, and that idea is a worldly idea, but it's crept into the church, and that's so. And so, yeah.
I think that like the practicality of it is not just counter to society, but it's counter to being human. You know what I mean? It's like, wait, now if I like I'm striving in my life to be comfortable. You know what I mean? It's like I need a job that I can live comfortably. You know what I mean? Like I need these things to make my life comfortable here. You know what I mean? So I think like the tricky part to it is yes, you need those things to be comfortable here, but understanding that you're gonna move on. You know what I mean? It's like traveling, okay, and you stop at a nice hotel. You know what I mean? You don't want to stay at a roach infested place.
In Texas.
Okay, like you as you plan your trip, you're gonna pick the nicest hotels
Yeah.
on your journey to get home.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So yeah, you might stop at a nice hotel and everything. You know what I mean? It can have all the amenities, more amenities than you have at home. But ultimately, you know, at 11 o'clock, there's gonna be a knock on your door telling you it's time to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So in many ways, our journey can be looked at as like that. Yes, it's nice to find that nice hotel,
Right.
but understand that your journey is not over until you get home.
Yeah.
Comfort. That's what I was.
Yeah,
trying.
yeah.
Comfortability.
Yeah, we
No one-
painfully heard you.
No one helped me out. So this is an interesting thing, though, and I don't mean to ramble off,
Yeah.
but this is been waiting for a long time to share this. So, Randy Acorn, he writes about heaven, and normally when we see the healings in the Bible, we see almost like a suspension of the natural into the supernatural, and we don't realize that was the restoration of what God had intended us. He didn't intend us to have like broken bodies, right? And so we get satisfied with crumbs
Yeah.
when there's
Yeah.
so much
Yeah.
better for us, right?
Absolutely.
And we think just because I've shared before I have an eyesight condition, right? But if he healed my eyesight, like that would solve all my problems. There's just so much more problems that I don't.
Right.
You know.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so kind of to that point, in order for something to be good, something has to be not good. And to be satisfied with what's not good negates what is good. You know what I mean? And you were talking about inclusion earlier. Like, I think that's what we miss out on, is that when you are accepting the crumbs, when you're accepting that this is just as good as it gets, when really we were created for so much more, you're actually saying more about what God has said is very good in Genesis than you are about your current circumstances. And so the point of today, the point of Monday is long for more. Like, you were created for paradise, that perfect place. Long for more. And one day, if you are truly a believer and your faith is in Jesus Christ, you will get to experience all of perfection in totality.
So Amanda, my wife, she gets on me, I guess is the best way to describe it, because it seems like I'm never satisfied. And there's an unhealthy part of that, right? Like no matter what I get, I always want more. I think with God, though, that is a healthy thing, because we can't experience God in his fullness in our current condition. And so to never be satisfied where we're at, to always want more of God, it's a healthy thing for the Christian, especially when we see the picture of what it was supposed to be in the garden.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's Monday's theme, everybody. Emma said 0. Rachel said more than Emma, and that's like
I was forced.
Weird.
So
Start over.
Yeah. That is Monday's theme. Perfect place, paradise lived. Hope you are excited about the theme as we are, at least as I am. Speak for everybody else. Emma's not excited yet, but she has a couple weeks to get there. So a few things before we go. We're doing things a little bit different this month just because of the theme and camp coming up. Quickly, registration is still open. There is still limited space, not a lot of space, but there is a little bit of space left. So if you have not yet registered, please do so. You can do that on our website, www.thenoyc.com. Each week during the month of May, we're going to be doing several things on our social media and podcast. One of those things is releasing a poll or an insight into something for camp. And so this week, we are asking you to help us pick the NOIC 2026 flavor flurry this year. That was fun to say. So we're gonna have a specific 2026 flurry at the Snack Shack, and so help us pick that flavor. Vote on social media, and then also on the Godcast, you can comment there. This week's considerable quote comes from our lesson on Monday at camp, and it says this: "The Bible begins with what could be the most overlooked truth, as God's word declares, we don't belong here." And then this week, I got song. We haven't done songs in a long time. This week, our song of the week is "This Side of Heaven" by Seph Schlueter. Seph Schlueter.
It's Schlueter. Peter Schlueter.
So, as if you've watched the Godcast for some time, you know that every week in the month of May, we pick an item that you can bring to camp, and you will receive your tickets to put your name in the drawing at camp. And so you have 4 items from the month of May that you can tune into the Godcast to hear about. So this week's item is always the standard that we start with, and it is probably my favorite item that anybody brings to camp. For a ticket to get your name drawn, bring a bad poem for Chuck Baldwin to read to camp. Bad poetry with Chuck Baldwin is maybe my favorite part of all of camp.
The badder, the better.
The badder, the better. That's right. That is Chuck's slogan. The badder, the better. So bring a bad poem for Chuck to read, and he'll be reading that. I think Monday night of camp is when that's planned, or Tuesday night.
Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, it was
Monday or Tuesday. We have bad poetry with Chuck. But bring that poem to registration,
Yeah.
and you'll get your name entered into that drawing. Well, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, and come back next week for our next segment of Getting to the Garden. Until then, we'll see you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.